In 1954, a group of people from St. Mark's Lutheran Church up the road decided to start a new church. They began meeting at Queens College. At that point, there was nobody, and they brought together a handful of people, a pastor named Jacob Lackey. And then, by December of 1954, they organized as Christ Lutheran Church. They worshiped at Queens College for 4 years until they found a piece of land way out here in the boondocks down Providence Road. And here in 1958, they broke ground for their very first sanctuary. From that time on, we have purchased land all around us, added more buildings to the campus of 12 acres that we have today. When people are talking about different facilities, there's 3 main buildings. There's the Children's Center, in which we have 200 part-time and full-time kids that we take care of Monday through Friday. We have the Ministry Center. Inside the Ministry Center are adult education classes and children's classes, the adult library, and the music center. And then finally, we have the Worship Center. The original sanctuary, built in 1958, was torn down in 2001 so we could build the Ministry Center. This is a place in which we have music and adult classes and children's programming. So let's take a look inside. When we go inside, the first areas could be called the gallery. I'll show you that. Come on in. We've got pictures all over the place, different scenes from the Bible. To my left here is called the forum. This forum A, B, and C. It can be 1 big room or 3 small rooms, primarily for adult education. And down the hallway here is an excellent adult library. Come on in anytime, find a book, and get deeper into the Word. Now, upstairs of the Ministry Center is primarily Sunday school classrooms. There's also a music suite there as well. And the most important room, we've got the nursery. I want to show you a special room here in the Ministry Center. It's called the Lackey Chapel. It's named after our founding pastor, Jacob Lackey. Inside the Lackey Chapel, we tried to replicate as closely as possible the original look of the first sanctuary of Christ Lutheran here back in 1958. We have the original baptismal font. It has the original pulpit and the original altar as well. It has the original pews that have been chopped down to size. This is a space that's still being used today quite often, certainly for individual prayer, as you can come in anytime. But we also use it for worship, things like baptism, funerals, even weddings at times. This 44-seat little sanctuary has been a key place to remember our past and to do ministry for the future. As you come into the worship center, we first enter into this space called the Lower Commons. This is not your mother's narthex. This is a place of gathering. This is a place that you will grab a cup of coffee and catch up with your friends and meet new members. This is a place we'll have receptions after weddings and after funerals. You'll come on up and you'll get a cup of coffee over here. There's a seating area, and then there is cornerstone gifts. As we go to my other side, is the information that you can find out more about things going on here at Christ Lutheran. After you're all settled in the Lower Commons, then come join me to this rooms over here, because this is a space for the middle school and high school kids. Come and see. This youth space is called the Pit, and it has great activities for both middle school and high school. They'll come in here and grab a snack or play one of the games, or go over here in which we've got a stage out front. This is a place in which oftentimes on Sunday mornings or Wednesday nights, that they'll have maybe a speaker or a lesson that they'll have set up here in the commons area. And then they'll go and do a breakout sessions in all the smaller Sunday school classes. But if your kids are said, Mom, I need to go to the pit, this is the place they're talking about. And I've always said, if you're not having a good time here, you're not trying. Let's go on and see the upstairs called the Upper Commons. We have now just left the lower commons and entered the place creatively called what? The Upper Commons. It's the place of all the sofas and chairs where you can gather and meet just before going into worship. Through these doors is the new sanctuary. Come and see. Welcome to the sanctuary here at Christ Providence. This is not an overstatement, but this building was about 15 years in the envision, 10 years in the design, and many years in the fundraising. This is a place that we had to take into effect both traditional and contemporary aspects. So traditional, we've got the pews, we have the kneelers. A little more contemporary, we have the scope in the floor, the semicircle, and the individual cushions there in the pews. We had to design it for all kinds of worship. So on my right is the with the choir and the piano. To the other side, we have spirit song, the contemporary. Behind, we've got two large screens that have a very vibrant look to it. Even though this has 1,100 seats here, we designed it to be very intimate. So no matter where you are seated, there's a place here for you. Welcome to Christ Chapel. We are right here on Providence Road. Certainly there's an entrance from the inside, but this has been the entrance of Christ Chapel for, well, since 1973. Come on in. Welcome to Christ Chapel. This was our second sanctuary. It was built in 1973. It is a very traditional shape here, and we still use it even though we have the brand new one. We use it for weddings and funerals. We use it for a Sunday morning worship called the Bridge. This is an excellent facility here to be able to still have that traditional feel with a seating of about 350 people. It's very lively. Perhaps you can hear that in my voice. So oftentimes we'll have musical choirs come in here and a place to perform. This place has some special meaning to a lot of members of the church who have been here for a long time. We are now standing on holy ground, literally. This is the columbarium, built in 1998. This is reminiscent of the cemetery that was attached to the old rural country church. But instead of graves, we have niches. This is a place that oftentimes we gather for reflection or perhaps even a small funeral service. And right over here against this wall, we have all the plaques of all the saints who from their labors rest. Take a look. In each one of these, there are the remains, the ashes of members of the congregation. Each niche can hold 2 boxes of ashes. Most of the time, husbands and wives, as we see here. Many have already purchased their niche here long before their death, just in preparation, knowing that they have a place here, always, to bring their grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, to come and tell stories and remember with fondness all those loved ones in our families. This has been a very sacred place. Welcome again to Christ Lutheran here on the Providence campus. It is a large facility, but we have made it feel small so that you will not get lost. We have made room for you, a place where you can belong. Come and see.